Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Day Trader Next Door. Thank you for being here. Today, we're going to do some questions and answers. Well, you've done the questions, and I'm going to do the answers. But first, I got to go get a haircut, and I'll be right back. All right, that's better. Okay, guys, so I'm going to go through some of your questions here. Thanks for your question, SL. Already day trading mostly on 5-minute candles. Switch to tick charts seems interesting. With interactive brokers and TD, which are compressing ticks. Can you recommend any other brokerage? Well, I never had a problem using a tick chart from interactive brokers, but if they're not giving you full data now, then I suppose it is an issue. I've had really good luck with AMP futures. They're very cheap commissions, good execution, no issues really ever with them. I don't have any relationship with them, but just had good service for like a decade. Pretty much any discount futures broker that's a larger name has been around. You can sort of look around the internet and sort of see reviews and what kind of a reputation they have. But yeah, I've had good luck with AMP. MTNJ. When you say you get some protection around even 10s, 20s, 50s, 100s, do you mean price will bounce off that? Well, not necessarily, but sometimes it can. The reason I like to place my stops around that is just it's one more thing that the price has to get through. You'll quite often see at least a little bit of resistance at those psychological levels, whether they be big ones like 50s and 100s or just ones in between, on the zeros, the 10s, 20s, 50s, 80s, 100s, 20, 25, 75, 80, as far as those ones. But really what I mean is, if you look at it, you'll notice that oftentimes price will hesitate there, and that's kind of if I enter long somewhere, I want to have my stop ideally below the next 10, provided I'm in close to that number. But rather than have my stop right at, say, 42.10, I would want to have my stop at like 42.07, ideally to get around the 10 and maybe even around the 750. Or if I didn't have room for that, at least have it like down at 9 or 850, just to give a little bit of room around that main level. Ed Lee, now this was on a specific trade, but I think I remember it. He said, quick question, your time-based charts were indicating a downtrend, but you took the trade long. Did you see consolidation on the tick chart, or know somehow it was going to break to the upside? Sure make this look easy. Well, sometimes I guess, but no, if I remember correctly, Ed, I'm pretty sure I went long at a big number, like at 100 level, and that's why. Did I see something? I don't think I saw anything that told me it was going to stop there other than prices coming down to that level. I think maybe it had touched it and bounced before, like earlier in the morning, if I'm not mistaken. But really all that was most likely was just to see, like if it came down to the 100 level and it looked like it was stopping there, I'm pretty sure what I did was I just tried to get a little bit of a pop, see what kind of pop I could get. Because oftentimes when you see price come down to 100 level and it stops there, it's going to have some resistance there almost all the time. But if it does stop there, you quite often get a 10-point pop up before it comes back down below it. So that's kind of my rationale there. There wasn't any big clue, I don't think, that gave anything away for me. Robin Harris, what's a good filter size for the YM? 50 would be too big, right? And he's talking about filter out what size of order will show on your time and sales. Now, I have my time and sales, so it doesn't show me anything smaller than a 50 contract order on the ES. So as far as on the YM, I'm not sure what mine's set at on the YM, quite honestly, but I think it's 20 or something like that. All that does is just weed out all the 1 and 2 contract transactions. You don't need to see like coming down through your screen so much that you can't even read it. The big thing is the levels that you set it to play a ding at. That's what I really listen to. If I hear a ding, then I'm looking. And I have mine set to ding at 500 on the ES, so any 500 contract in one single execution, one order that gets filled, that will ding and let me know that somebody or some institutions made a decent sized trade. I believe I have it at 100 on the YM for that. You get a 100 contract order filled on the YM, it'll move the market for sure. Nizarama, you said in another video you can use that I use the DOM to enter and manage a trade. You tell us how to use it. I think I showed a little bit of that. No, I don't. I have the DOM up. Depending on what on how you say it. Some people call the DOM and the terminal the same thing. I sort of call it the same thing, but the DOM itself, like the ladder, okay, the ladder with the different prices on it, I don't really use that at all. I have it up there, but I don't use it to enter and exit. I usually just use the buy and sell buttons on the terminal. Sometimes I will click like the buy bid button if I figure I can get one tick better. If price is just sort of staying kind of still and I'm trying to get in, sometimes I'll go like buy on the bid type of thing or sell on the ask, just to try and get one extra tick better of an entry. But for the most part, it's just market orders in. And then whenever I want to get to break even, I just hit the break even button. There's actually a button that just says, I think it says break even, BE. And when I close the trade, if it doesn't hit my target, I just hit the flat button. It just go flat, just cancels everything and puts you to net zero. So that's the main thing that I use. I know guys though that use the ladder quite a bit. Like I don't really place limit entry orders, so there's no need for me to do that. I just have an OCO order preset, like one cancels the other, or a bracket order, so that anytime I do place a trade, it places automatically a target and a stop that are so many ticks away from the entry, and then I just go in and drag those to where I want them, and it's all set. Also, guys, thank you so much for your support and your messages about my dog, Odie. He was a great boy, and it was really hard, still difficult. You know, he's been with me a long time. I did a video talking about going from $1 million to 10,000 to back to $1 million. Well, he was with me from way before that. He's with me from the $500 that I put in the Forex account when I first started trading. So, long time. He was a great boy, and he's in a better spot now, but I appreciate all your support, guys. That's really nice of you to think of me. Tahir is asking if I use the 310 to enter trades type of thing. Yes, I have the 310 on my chart, made famous by Linda Raschke, one of my trading heroes. I don't really use it a whole lot. It's kind of there more from force of habit, but I do find, like, I don't use it to enter a trade or not. There are some of, setups and that are based upon it. I don't use them because I don't find them reliable enough. They're too mechanical for me, but there are certain times that I will look at it just to see essentially where the lines are in relation to one another. I mean, it's an oscillator, right? I like to have an oscillator on my chart just to have one more piece of information to look at. To me, that's the best oscillator for me to use. And that's why I keep it on my chart. Donkey Face, thanks for all your comments. Talking about how he's, I think in a nutshell, spending time looking at the chart and watching price is kind of making him throw away all the GAN and fib levels and volume profiles as far as knowing when to enter a trade. And while those all can have value, volume profile I find interesting, but as you see, I don't have it up on my charts. I look at it, once or twice a week on a bigger chart just to kind of see where the heavy levels are. But really just kind of looking at the chart and hopefully watching my videos to see, if you don't watch the chart for yourself, you at least see how it's behaving when I'm looking at it. Hopefully that'll help you guys kind of recognize some behaviors. This is from almost a couple weeks ago. We took 20 trades and caught 57 points on the New York and Asian session, paper account. Starting to get a feel for the market. I'm glad to hear that, buddy. Keep it up. Taking 20 trades in a day, though, almost makes me dizzy. Well, that's good. You're taking them in paper money. That's good. Try and whittle those down to a handful when you get into the real money. But good job, bud. Keep it going. Chromatic Tempest was a funny message here. He says, when I took a trade on the oil and the ES with no stop loss. Yeah, don't ever do that. However, he said no stop on a high leverage trade. However, keep in mind, though, I was only trading one contract. And while that is, that's something, all right, I usually trade with 5. So the most likely worst case scenario on that trade, or either of those trades, leaving them for a few hours, trading one contract, is really no more than my average risk. If I risk $1,000 or a little bit more on the average trade, with a stop loss on 5 contracts. So you look at it that way, it's not so bad. So that's kind of like if you're trading Forex and you decide, and you're trading minis or something, and you decide just to throw a micro on and see what happens. That's pretty much what I was doing there. But I was quite sure we were going to get a little bit of a correction from those wild moves, and I was right on one of them, and sort of right on the other one, but at least it wound up positive. And guys, sorry I've been a little bit erratic on posting this last while. I think if you guys have watched my other videos, there's a lot of stuff going on right now for me, just personally. Lots of appointments and family stuff, and my mother's got a new house and trying to get work done there. I spent the last 2 days finding a painter, finding flooring guys, getting quotes, getting colors, and just getting it all ready so we can get the work done and get her moved in as soon as possible. And then she has another house to sell too, so we want to try and get it touched up for the spring market. And so it's just a whole lot of stuff at once. I really want to see her get in there and get settled and be able to start enjoying it. And so anyway, I'm going to do my best, for the next month or so to post as much as I can. Every day I do trade. I am recording it and I will post it. But like this week, for instance, it's Wednesday now, and I haven't traded all week. I traded maybe last Thursday, I can't remember. But anyway, everything I do you're going to get to see, but I won't be doing a whole lot of trading this next little while. Thanks a lot for sticking with me and going through the old videos. I really appreciate that. And of course, keep your questions and comments coming. I'll keep answering them. Gio has a comment here. He says, there's a war in Europe and the market goes up 200 points. That's the crazy market that we have. Now, taking a look at it here, it is certainly sucking back a little bit. Right now, it's around 4,200. I'm going to be doing up a new newsletter with all my thoughts on that and where I'm going to be putting my levels because it's time to roll my contracts over. The upward bias in the market, you have to keep that in mind, I find, even though it's all doom and gloom. And yes, it's lower. It just keeps bouncing. So until that clearly changes, I got to keep that in mind, as I have for the last few years, like an upward bias absent of anything else, which is kind of counterintuitive because I really prefer to short. This market generally goes down faster than it goes up. So anyway, Glenn, what's the indicator at the bottom of most of your charts? That'd be the 310 oscillator, Glenn. Available on TradingView, available on some other platforms too. It's just a basic oscillator. Cool, man. Nice to hear from you, cool, man. I wanted to ask about my practice and study, how it worked, like when I was learning and how I got up to profitability. Said, like, did you just trade the morning and eventually get the hang of it? Would you study charts and research at night? Well, essentially, like, I lived a little bit longer road because I started in Forex, so I had like a $500 account and I was just playing for the first month, and then I lost most of it. It was down to about, $300 or something like that. And then gradually, stair-stepped up and then down and up and then down to the point where I had gotten just a little bit above that by the end of the year. So my first trading was swing trading. But as far as day trading goes, at that point I was pretty familiar with the market, and I started day trading by trading the Dow in the CFD feed, like the US 30 type of thing. And I just found that a lot easier to trade. It seemed more intuitive to me, and I liked that it moved in the morning hours enough that you could actually day trade it. By the time I started trading indexes, I was already trading with real money because I was making money trading the currencies. Maybe a little bit different than somebody just starting out now to start day trading from scratch. I always say, of course, paper money first until you get the hang of it, till you have some reasonable expectation of making some money, because once you make money on paper, as soon as you start with real money, you're probably not going to make money the first little bit. Long story short, though, I worked for myself, and when I didn't have a funeral in the morning or didn't have somebody coming in, I would trade the morning session, like the New York session from, at that point, I didn't really sit down until about 9 o'clock. So 9 o'clock, 9:15 until 10:30, 11. And I'd trade that every day that I could. And just sort of did that over and over, and and gradually got more proficient at it and more comfortable with it, and then moved into futures and so on. When I first started with futures, I used to practice trade on NinjaTrader because they would let you play. I think the Sierra I'm pretty sure Sierra does it too. And I think now TradingView actually might let you replay. But I used to practice at night a tick-by-tick replay of the morning on NinjaTrader. So I did practice trading at night, not necessarily on days that I traded in the morning, but some nights I do remember doing that. The biggest thing is, be serious about it, but take your time and do not quit your day job until you know you've got this 100%, because when it becomes your main income, it's a whole different story because there's actually pressure on you. If you just do it for fun and you got a paycheck, it's fine. It's way easier to make money. When it is your paycheck, it's a whole different thing. So for me, it was more of a gradual thing. It gradually became more and more to the point where I could drop the other one. But if you're just gonna be like, I'm gonna do it, I'm quitting my job and I'm gonna start day trading for a living next week, don't do that because it probably won't work. Cole Burrows, what's your thoughts on entering with stop orders? Well, I don't do that. Not to say it's a bad thing. If you're trading like a breakout strategy, you might want to have a stop order. A lot of people will have like a stop order. If it breaks this level, I want to get in. I just don't do that because I find you get a lot more fake outs than breakouts, So, I mean, I have tried trading that way. I have set stop orders, like buy stops and sell stops type of thing. But it's just not been a way that I want to trade. It's just because price goes there doesn't mean it's going to stay there. So I generally like to be sitting there watching it and see if it breaks that level, then let it come back and see if it's going to push through or not, and try and get in after that. I don't like the idea of entering on a buy stop. And once it gets to this area, I think it's going to go further because otherwise you have to have your stop too wide, and it's just too often it winds up to be a fake out. So I don't use them. Different methods of trading, they make sense, not for the way I trade. I've had a couple people also ask about the layout of my screen and how that works and monitors and stuff. I'm going to do an actual video on that, but the way this works, and I've just lit up this side so you can see it. Okay, so this is a 4K TV. It's 55 inch. The reason I use 55 inch is because before I used to have an array of 6 27-inch monitors. If you split a 55 inch TV in four, the actual pixel size and screen sizes of those four screens is about the same as a 27-inch monitor. That's why I have it. In this case, I have two 27s on the bottom and I have three across the top. The ones on the top are more like a 21 or so, but they're a 4:3 aspect ratio like the old monitors kind of. So that's how I do it. People are asking also about graphics cards and stuff. I've had a lot better luck with NVIDIA cards. As far as memory goes, like graphics card memory, I kind of, in my experience, say 500 megabytes per 1080 screen. A 55-inch monitor like this, it's got four 1080 screens in it. The actual amount of pixels is 4 times. So if you got two 4K monitors, you want to have 4 gigs. If you got one 4K monitor, 2 gigs will work fine. I tried running these two, not the third one, just these two, on a single 2 gig AMD based card. It would run the charts just fine, but if I put a video on in one of the windows, it was choppy. And when I looked at my resource use, my graphics card was always up, 50, 70%, just running all these charts. No good. However, when I went to the 4 gig NVIDIA card, it just plays, running the equivalent of 4 plus 4 plus 1, 9 1080p screens at once. Absolutely no trouble. So to me, this kind of a setup is way less expensive and way more convenient and just better in pretty much every way, having used both, than a monitor array. You need fewer video cards, you need fewer cables. You don't have to worry about super thin bezels on the monitor. It's way cheaper. I use a program called UltraView Desktop Manager. And that's what lets me put the taskbars in between them. You can have it with the taskbar on each window or not. And you can customize it to all different sizes. The one on this side has a couple super small ones in the middle. It actually has 4 screens across the top instead of 3 on this one. So there's a specific window for my quote board and my time and sales, and one for my Twitter. That's just, both of them are just big enough for that. And then I still have 2 charts the same size as the top ones over here, and then 2 more 27s worth on the bottom. So if you're looking at building a big setup like this, first of all, don't bother unless you really wait until you figure out that this is going to work for you. You're going to be serious about it. If you just want to have fun, go grab one 4K TV. Make sure it's a decent one. I've got links down there for the cheapest ones that I found to work really well. Get one and a 2 gigabyte graphics card, ideally NVIDIA, and you can have probably all the real estate you're ever going to need, 4 good size monitors. And the pixels are the same size as they are on a 1080 monitor because it's a 4K TV. And it's just a really easy, user-friendly way to have big screens without the hassle and without all the money. Another question I've already written back to, but a good question from Verified UFOs. He's asking with the situation in Europe and Fed announcement and just all the craziness going on right now, should he just stay out of the markets? And I kind of said, well, yeah, that'd be okay, but You don't have to stay right out of the markets, but you should certainly stay away from the open, stay away from any of the news announcements, and stay away from it whenever the Fed members are talking. Because, as you've seen in some of my videos if you watched, when they're talking, the market can be completely nonsensical, and they'll say one positive thing and it goes up 10 points. Then they'll say one negative thing and goes down 10 points. Like, not really the best times to trade. So stay away from all the crazy stuff. Now, of course, that means you don't get all the volatility either, but take it bit by bit. If you can start to find the main direction of the market for the day, or the main trend, or the main support levels and places markets liable to test and pop off of, you can do that without having to trade through the news announcements. Main thing, capital preservation is number one. So keep the risk low. Don't trade whenever it's going to be crazy, for sure. At least not until you really have a good handle on this and you fully understand and accept the risk. Steve Hinton, thanks for your questions. One of the fellows who wrote me about the computer. Just to answer your last question here, would a 4 gig Radeon Pro WX3200 work for 4 4K monitors? I wouldn't know. I would say if you want to have 4 4K monitors, first of all, it's more than you need, unless maybe you want smaller 4K monitors. To me, if you're anything under 30-inch monitor, 32, 1080 is probably quite fine. You're still going to be able to read the text just fine. So if you're looking at televisions, really, 2 big ones like this, that's pretty much all the screen space you're going to need. But regardless, if you're going to use 4 4K screens, I'd say you're going to want 8 gigs and probably an NVIDIA card, ideally. I know the workstation cards are heavier duty. I had one. I'm trying to remember what it was called. I believe it was a WX. It was an 8 gig card, and I got rid of it because it wouldn't fit in my old tower. They don't have as good a performance for video editing either, but I understand for workstations they're great. But like I say, 2 gigs per 4K screen, in my experience, is what you need. 1 gig does not work. Anyway, guys, I think that's probably enough for today. Anything I haven't answered on here, I'm going to go and answer in the comments. But thank you so much for all your questions. So keep them coming. Gives me something I can do also for a video whenever I don't have time to trade in the morning. I've got a whole list of other videos that are planned. Like it's huge. Bit by bit, they're going to start coming out when I have time to record them. Thank you so much for watching. As always, grab my cheat sheet newsletter, daytradernextdoor.com. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys all soon.